The door handle clicked twice. The familiar sounds of the unoiled front door handle downstairs being twisted one way, then the other. Echoed in the captainless stairway linked up to the two-bedroom flat. Elsie! Short pause. Elsie! Howled entry. She didn't look. She just come right in, which is what people did where my grandma Elsie lived, and where I spent many school holidays. Confidently entering the flat were Edie, who lived in the flat directly below my grandma. She popped around every day for a chat which usually meant he being the only one chatting. As always, this take place in the dining kitchen, which will generally take the meeting place for such events. Edie was a loud, imposing brash lady in her 70s. She never a hair out of place and was clearly quite powerful both mentally and physically for an old lady. I can't remember any of the conversation at all. I can just remember Edie was sitting in front of the window and lighting a cigarette. Then the inevitable onslaught of words, which seemed like an eruption of waffling, which to my recollection consists of nothing other than, "Oh," she said. So I say, and she says, and they said. So we said, "Oh." "What?" she says. "Oh," I say, and so forth. I never really understood what was going on or what was being said. The small talk didn't interest me. My grandma would be still adjacent to Edith, laying on the side of the food-prepared area, which was the most common place I saw her, or she would be peeling potatoes, or peeling carrots, or peeling something while the terrain of the who say what was being addressed and questioned. I would be sat at the kitchen table, perhaps drawing something, or playing with some toys in the secret drawer or the fold-down kitchen table. Anything to pass the time, until this boring adult conversation came to an end. However, these were always footloose whist. Sometimes when the conversation was complete and Edie turned her attention to me, I might be in a huge old 2 shilling coins for a lolly or sweets from the post office across the road. When she finished the local gossip, she would address me loudly with the usual, "Now, the little bugger, what you been up to, huh? But splendid mission and eat." She shouted at me, in a close and warm but seemingly aggressive manner. Then changed her tone just a bit. "Here's 10 pence. Go and get some sweet, but I'm watching ya." If it was the last day of holiday there, I might be in 15 pounds. There was a large denomination coins at that time, and for a 7-year-old boy, there was a vast sum of money. I remember once, when we were in the town, Grandma readily took me into a pub, and I saw Edie work there on the bar. This seems like an old memory now, as she was clearly too old to work. Unless rules were broken down, or she couldn't live on her state pension, or was working because she was bored in retirement. I can't imagine why she was there. However, I later found out she was a pub landlady in her working life. And a reflection in my later life, it probably clear to me now why she was so butch. When talking about Edie, Grandma would something sigh or say, "Oh, she's rough," but not in a nasty way. I was never sure if she liked Edie at the time. Though I think that I thought that she probably liked the fact that Edie liked me, or her other friends never bothered with me to the extent that Edie did. I think Grandma probably thought she was a bit posh and overbearing and a bit much, but Grandma liked her in small doses. Grandma used to invite Edie around some evenings, and we played cards, Island with Rummy, Find the Queen, black and poker, and various other little games. Edith would show me card tricks and also taught me word and number riddles. As she knows, I prefer to have challenging tasks. I like Edith. I think she died in the late 1980s or early 1990s. However, I'm not sure of any pressure year. Going to stay at Grandma's house was a trip I made throughout my childhood. Most often it was during some of the school holidays, and occasionally at weekends. We didn't own a car, and my grandma could drive anyway. She had never been able to drive. Where she lived felt like the other side of the country. The journey involved a 15-minute bus ride from Mum's flat in Sheffield into the town. Then a walk to the bus station to get the 2-hour X33 coach journey to Dewsbury, where we could wait for another bus to Myfield, where she lived. The last bus journey took about 20 minutes and ended in a short walk to her flat. As soon as I got off the bus, I would recognize the local smell. It's one of those distinct smells which, when you smell again, instantly promotes a distant memory. Even now, years later, I can still smell it by just thinking about it. It's difficult to describe smells. The closest way that I can think of to describe the smell in my field was kind of clean country air, mixed with hint or horse. The farms were nearby, but just far enough away that the smell wasn't too nasally intrusive, though I recalled. I didn't notice it after a short while. It was just a different smell and just became normal. She lived on the main road, but given that it's a small town, it was nothing like the main roads in Sheffield, and it wasn't particularly considered as dangerous. For a young kid, her block of flats looked huge to me, as if to contain lots of flats. But when visiting there years later in my early 50s, they looked tiny, and in reality only had about 6 or 8 or 4 self-contained flats. My field was a quiet, peaceful place. High, chunky, not much happening, with apparently little to do. However, I was always up to something and never ever bored. Either Grandma found me something to do, or I'm happy entertaining myself. I never had any need for other kids or people around me. Luckily, really, as there were virtually no kids anywhere, lived near my grandma's place. Other than one girl, Susan. She was roughly the same age as me, and we first met at about the age of 6 or 7. I think they only lived across the road for a few years, as I don't remember them being there before this age, or perhaps I was too young. We should go wash up to play on the rag. To go on the swings, the rag was just down from the pub next to the post office, around the corner, and we were pretty much there. Or we had any money, we could go to the post office and buy some sweets, where we jiggle at the postmistress, who, nice as she was, looked funny to us. She had her dyed jet black hair, and in the style of the Queen, and wear makeup that made her look like a kind of girl's doll. She was always nice to me. Outside the post office was a tumbling 2-penny sweet machine, where you put in your coins and turn the mechanic type dial, and your 2 or 3 sweets would drop into the compartment behind a flap below. Sometimes her mom would invite me around for tea. They lived in a tourist house that you entered through the back, The whole living area was in one room. As far as I know, the back door into the kitchen, the dining room, and the lodge, and all in one. I've never really considered the configuration of the rest of the house. Until one day when Susan's mom asked me to take a cup of tea into grandfather. We heard Emily in the general direction of a door in the corner, which I never seen behind before. Susan moved away when I was about 9 years old. I never saw her again. I wonder whether she remembers me. I don't even know if I ever knew her last name. School terms and hence holiday times were different in Mudfield in relation to Sheffield, so occasionally I would see kids walk down the main road after their school times. I can't remember any other children living or being around the area right up until I stopped going there. I do remember one occasion with play in the wreck. A group of boys were sitting on the swing at the bottom of the enormous scratch hill. I approached them with my football, and the group was about 5 or 6 in number. They were slightly older boys than me. I remember hitting somewhat at playing football, and although their reception wasn't hostile, I do remember that gave me the impression that told me to. I told them I was from Sheffield and that they want a kick about with their football. To which I got the response of, "We don't play football round here." What was verbally exchanged from this point, and up to my departure, I don't recall. If there wasn't anything on the agenda for the day, I have enough things to play with, and one thing which never went out of favor was the tricycle. It was an old-fashioned tricycle, designed for children much younger than I, but it wasn't cheap plastic one that you might see in today's shops. It was a robust, indestructible mental-raising machine. Thanks to my and my older brother's expertise in mechanical, engineer, and vehicle construction, the seat was removed from the trike, and it would be raised by placing the left foot on the back plate, and the right foot would propel it. I spent hours playing on this, raced around a perfectly formed left circle around the flat complex, which was a perimeter path that looped around the back of flats. When my brother was staying there at the same time as me, we would have time to use my lively bold digital watch. We built up a stopwatch and an alarm that played the yellow rolls of tests. In fact, thanks to diary entry and my meticulous recording of events, I have found a written entry from when I was 13 years old to show that this little toy was still in full use even when I was a young teenager. Other things to keep me entertained as a young child include my toy cars. Now many young kids like toy cars, and I was no exception. I have an added bonus at Grandma's house because her large carpet was designed in a kind of grid formation. Each square was separated by a strip which matched the exact width of the standard toy cars. This led to all sorts of possibilities for road networks, small towns, etc. And I built towns in the lodge. I preferred the buses in my collection, and this formed the base for my dream job at the time, a bus driver. Due to my grandma finding me things to do that were more complex, I was also perhaps the youngest person I would ever know what could fool the law and completely use an Attica single-tethered swimming machine by 7 years old. What with the tri-race machine, my car, and my seemingly useless ability to see, I was pretty much content. However, things took a dramatic turn in 1982, when my brother no longer won his record player, and this means this old record player he had was beginning for a new home. It was finding a home at Grandma's. It was a 1960s density copy, turmoil, and since I only had one record, a few times a week, Grandma would announce that we were going into town. When we arrived at the new Dewsbury bus station, it entailed a pedestrian shopped area. Lots of town was pedestrianised and is made for more enjoyable visiting. We were arrived in the market to a hive of activity. I remember two things about the market. First, the smell. Second, every store seems to be selling little handbags, little coats, little wallets, little purse, or Asian electrical equipment, especially radios, and also fish, which I despise the smell of. There is one exception to this rule. I knew for sure that one of the stores in this leather and fish smell place were stores that sold Star Wars figures. This was a definite plus point, and this knowledge added like a physiological loose clip to the fish smell. Star Wars figures were expensive, and not something I could get my hands on at every visit. But similar to visit to toy shop as kid, one can easily enjoy seeing what's on the market. One figure that wasn't available in Sheffield's Wedgate toy shop was Bobo Fett, but to my disappointment. Dewsbury's offering were not better than the offering in Sheffield markets and shops. I had to get this figure. The advertising campaign from Star Wars had penetrated my subconscious mind. I can only credit my grandma's incredible patience as she took me on a date after other towns to try find one there. We went to Wakefield, Hartfield, Batley with no luck either. The bonus from popping into Batley was that my grandma's farmer, explorer Fossilized, were based there, and she was allowed in the stock shop for discount goods. Despite me not have a sweet tooth as an adult, I would happily eat my way through as many false biscuits as I could eat when I was young. Whatever that they had in tide, late afternoons and evenings were pretty much the same thing. Grandma cooking a home-cooked meal from scratch, and me playing in the lounge. We almost always had proper dinners. It was always followed by some home-baked pie, from possibly endless supper of blackberries that she had stashed somewhere. Blackberry pie, blackberry jam on a pie, blackberry juicy with blackberry flavored sauce, etc. We would eat our tea in the lounge while she watched Cotswold or some other soap or variety show that she liked. Sometimes, if we have a light tea, we walk down to the chippy where the band shop store, where we drop some disposed bottles. It was down the hill, past the old Force estate, then you could see it. A small brick hut-like building stood completely alone and seemed out of place. Wow, the chips was nice. The chippy really was a treat. When the weather was nice, we could go to blackberry or blackberry picking up in the fields, just a short walk from the flat. And much like Sheffield, my field had the bonus of being very close to the countryside. You must have collected a lot of berries, for the number of pies that were made by Mom and Grandma. There were few houses up there, and occasionally Grandma would knock on the door of one of them. Up would come Auntie This or Uncle Dad. It was my grandma's brother's son's stepbrother's Mom's half-brother's daughter, if I recall correctly. Blimey, I don't remember much about anyone up there. The only part of their conversation I can ever remember is the standard. "Oh, look at you. You have gold. Oh, look how tall you are now." Which, to be fair, I always say now to my friends' kids when I see them after a long time. I think it's Ben, Amelia. We sometimes went down to see Grandma's brothers and his wife down in the old forest estate. They were nice. They were nice and had a car. This always held my attention and would ask my great uncle everything about it. It was a white Vessel chariot. One final memory from my grandma's flat was a cupboard in the corner of the kitchen. It was a topped cupboard and I could reach it when I was young. When I looked in there after climbing on a chair, there were countless tins of foods and packets of this and that. All of these were very old. I should never venture in there with cooking to my knowledge. I wonder why she had kept it all. Was she a hoarder because I also do that? Or was he expecting New Glen War as TV adverts were showing in the 1980s? I remember one thing in particular. It was small green label Heinz baked beans. Oh, baked beans! I like baked beans, by the way. It looked like an article. I shot it and rattled. Never in my 55 years have I ever come across another tin of beans rattled with beans. Years later, in 1989, when we were cleaning up of her flat after her death, they were still there. Fossilized beans, I'm sure. Mom said when Grandma worked in the factories, it was commonplace that earlier immigrants come along to work in them. She said that Grandma helped foreign people in the factory in Belty when they were new because some other of the native staff weren't friendly toward them at first. Mom also told me a story about when they were on a bus. Once, someone had sat down on the bus and said to the Clippy, "To Dewsbury." The conductor kept saying, "To Dewsbury? What does the meaning to Dewsbury?" In disgust at this conductor trying to mold the lane, Grandma shouted, "You know what he means. Just give him the bloody ticket." To which the conductor hurriedly then did. No one argued with John, old woman. I do miss my grandma.